you?
Sure. Lord, thank you for this day, that we can be about the people's business. Please guide us as we go about that business, and please bring our troops home as soon as possible. Bring peace to this world, and help us assist you to bring peace to this world. Thank you, Amen.
Call, please.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Kara Cowan Watts.
Bonnie.
Bill England. Bill John Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates.
Here.
Bradley Cobb.
Bonnie.
Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghop.
Here.
Meredith Fraley.
Here.
Janelle Fulbright.
Here.
Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Tina Glory Jordan.
Present.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Stokes.
Here.
David Thornton. We have one.
Thank you. Next is the approval of minutes. We have the January 15th. Mr. Baker.
Yes. I'd like to move to approve the minutes of January 15th PAC Subcommittee, January 15th Special Tarot, February 7th Regular Session, February 11th Reconvene Special, and February 12th PAC Subcommittee. Put that in form of motion.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Any opposed? Okay. Next we have our reports. And first is the financial and treasury report from Kelly Ketcher from the Cherokee Nation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Beautiful day today for a change. Sunshine. You have my written report. If there's any questions on it, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Are there any questions of Ms. Ketcher? So report is in your packet. Yes. Okay. If there are no questions,
Thank you.
Ms. Ketcher. Next is Cherokee Nation Enterprise. We have Guy Wolcott. Dave Stewart was detained on another meeting today.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Guy Wolcott. I'm CNE's new Chief Financial Officer. And so today I'd just like to kind of brief. You have the outline that we had submitted for this meeting. CNE, for the month of January 2008, had favorable financial results when compared to January of 2007. Net income was increased 8.4%, primarily driven from revenue increases in the gaming area, 7.6%, and year-over-year increase in the non-gaming areas of 16.2%. Balance sheet remains strong. All of the project financing is occurring out of equity, out of operating cash to date. External financial and compliance audits were completed by the external accounting firm BKD. They were submitted to the NIGC on time this year, and there were no material findings. We're pleased to announce. January dividends paid to the Cherokee Nation were $2.6 million. And you'll notice that currently at the January 31st, the Cherokee employment percentage was 59%, and combined with Cherokee and non-Cherokee Indian employment percentage as a whole was 71%, the total workforce. We have undergoing some implementations of new systems, including our major casino system, which goes live at all of our properties, sequencing beginning in May. So we're on track to continue with that initiative. We have processes to look at continuously improving our operating efficiencies through the use of these systems, especially in light of the the economy and the gas and the housing prices, the growth in revenue, as we're seeing, beginning to flatten out. We're not seeing that double-digit growth we have in previous months. So it places a heavier emphasis on our operating efficiencies and targeting our marketing dollars that we spend towards growing revenue, maximizing our gain in revenue. Expansion projects are going as planned. The steel at Catoosa's, Sean, if I'm right, is already at the second floor of the tower, and so on track with that project. West Siloam is going strong, as you've seen the project out there. The roof being put on, still on track to open as planned. Unless there's any other questions, that's all I had.
Are there any questions of Mr. Wilcox? Yes, Mr. Buzz.
I have a request, guys, and it may be that you're already providing this. It's on the construction side of the casino. What I'd like to see is a report from when the time we started building the casinos to present of change orders on casino construction. I think that would be interesting to see for the rest of tribal council members to take a look at that and see what change orders are costing. Because dealing with construction, I'm somewhat familiar, and some of the other guys are too, but I'd like to see that in the form of a report to the council members. Thank you.
Mr.
May
Slater.
I respond to that?
Yes.
I just want to clarify, Harley, what you're
Okay.
looking for, because change order, the term change order means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and we have an accounting change order process, and that's probably different than the construction change order process. These projects, when they were developed, we did a modified fast track. In other words, we didn't have all the drawings done, then bid the drawings out, get hard bids on everything. We get the site work drawing, we did that. So the estimates are based off square footages and things like that. Then when the bids come in, they're compared against those estimates and things. But I think you're talking about like changes in scope and things like that. Because the way those projects went or going with the estimates, anything that wasn't was an estimate, not a hard bid. Whenever they get the bid back, then they turn that into what they call a change order and solidify that. So there's hundreds of those. But I think those are just normal process of construction. What I think you're asking for is if we do a change order to increase the size of the project or something like that. Is that what you're looking for?
Mainly that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Just, we dealt with other things here, and we had engineers' estimates of what it's going to cost. And I guess what I hear you saying, we really didn't have those estimates done.
Well, we had
not because you were fast tracking those buildings.
Yeah, we had the estimates done, but it's not like what you would see if you did all the drawings, then put everything out for bid, got all the bids back, you got a budget, and then measured against what you actually cost against that.
And that's what I'm used to looking at
Yeah.
when I worked here at the Nation. And it kind of concerns me a little bit that we're doing it that way, but we're already in process, and I don't see us can change it now because we're already building the building.
Right.
But I would like to just see what the difference in costs of what we estimated was going to cost us and what it's actually going to cost us.
Yeah.
Because I know once you do those changes, your architects get a fee, your engineering firm gets a fee, and so does the project manager gets a fee. So we're talking about a lot of money here, John, and I want to make sure that we're not just throwing $150,000 to $300,000 here because we decide we want to have it. But,
Because of what?
because we decide now we want to change it and put it in there.
Yeah.
It kind of bothers me a little bit that we didn't have any really prior planning of what we're going to do. Now, you might tell me this, did we have an estimate of what the casino building was going to cost?
Yes, that's what I referred to. What we had was we had the site plan, event center, whatever that
You knew
was,
what those were.
and what we did was we took those and used what it cost to build Catoosa, escalated those prices for current pricing, and then put a pad on there for what you see in terms of rising costs.
Understand.
So it was a really good one of these, and so far we had a lot of contingency design, engineering, and things like that. A&E
So you had those
contingency
built
in
into your
there,
cost, okay.
and so when those firm up, those get applied against that
I see.
contingency, but we're certainly happy to report on that.
Okay, well, you'd like to see them.
And we'll work on it till we get it in the format that
Okay.
you need.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Mr. Cobb?
Supplemental schedule under revenues, line 3, what is included in retail? And my question is, looking at the lowest retail is at Catoosa compared to West Siloam, Roland, Tahlequah, Fort Gibson, well, Rogers and Southall, but the casinos, I'm just trying to figure out what's included in retail underneath there. Because Catoosa has the lowest amount of retail. Line 3 retail.
This is the retail, would just be the gift shop, I think really just the gift shop.
Okay, because, well, my
golf, you don't have the golf, the golf, so this would really just be the gift shop.
and my question, and I'm not debating, I'm just kind of surprised that the casino at Catoosa, you're looking at Roland, retail is $721,000. It's almost 3 times well, not quite 3, but
I think
what is
I haven't
that?
seen what you're looking at, but I think that's probably the travel place.
Correct.
That's what I want to know.
That's exactly what
That
it is.
answers my question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fishingham?
Yeah, could you please go back and tell David Stewart, I'm still waiting on my answers to my questions I asked him at our little gathering over here in the OCL room. They had to do about where the Cherokees were at all the casinos, where they was at, what departments they were mainly in employment.
As far as just by department or
I want by
percentages?
department, for the whole employees at CNE, where every one of them, if there's so many in EBS, I want them to say how many numbers are in an EBS, how many is in food and beverage.
Okay, so
On
by
the ladder.
property and then under each property by department?
Yes.
The percentage of, or the absolute number of Cherokees, or the percentage of Cherokees?
And tell them throw in bonuses on there, 'cause I'd like to see their bonuses as compared to somebody who's non-Cherokee, their bonuses.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. My understanding is, and again, I'm new, so apologize, on the bonuses, that those percentages are the same, constant for salaried versus hourly. So there wouldn't be a distinction whether one is Cherokee or non-Cherokee native or non-native altogether. The percentage is constant.
Well, I know when I worked there, I was a car dealer and I got bonuses. And I know you all can pull up how much my bonus was compared to somebody else's that was in another department. And I
Okay.
would like to see them.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, we could just,
And get real detailed if you want to, because that's what I want to see.
I'll address that through Brent Thompson and let him respond to that. But Guy's right, the hourly, it's based on how long you've been there. So it's stratified.
For the hourly.
Up and down, and the salaries just go into position. But I will refer that to Brent and have Brent get with you and see what it is exactly you want.
Okay, thank you.
we always just start with the model that shows exactly what that is, and then if you want more detail, we can, I'll work with Brent on that, so.
Okay, and can I expect it the next week or two, because I've been waiting over a month now.
For that, absolutely, yeah, that's not
Okay,
a
thank
difficult
you.
request, so. Any other questions?
Can you give us a couple of copies, because I got another counselor who want it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Next is C&I, Mr. McLemore. Good afternoon.
Your report has the business as of the end of December for our 4 months. On the balance sheet, reporting cash of $9.5 million. Our inventory is $10.3 million. We had payables of $11 million, and we have a net worth of $10 million. With a 3 months ending, or 4 months ending, we had a net loss of $780,000. The losses that we talked about before, the first quarter of our year is a slower portion of the year, and we expect those things to start leveling out as we get further into the year. For an example, in December, our losses in the manufacturing were $400,000, and in January they'll be $350,000, and we'll see an improvement there. And we'll also, now that the vacation and holiday period is over in the staffing area, we'll have more billable hours starting in January, February time frame. Any specific questions?
Okay. Yes, Mr. Soap.
I got a question. When we roll up these financial reports here, a lot of times there's not budgeted allocations for C&I, and so it looks like you got $4 million cost of goods or something like that. What's the issues there? I mean, as far as
When you roll them up into
compare this sheet right here, if you want to look at it, I don't know if we need somebody to interpret
it gets smaller, doesn't it?
But like these sheets here, there's no line for the budget.
Oh, okay, this is on the C&I report that we send to C and B,
Right.
which are our owners.
Yeah,
Our
so when you
budget
roll
was
it-
just approved.
So when you roll it all up, it's sitting here and look like we lost $5 million, like you guys bought something, or
On the variance to budget.
yeah. So what's
Well, I don't know on how they're rolling that up exactly, but our reports haven't included any budget because our budget was just approved this past week.
okay?
And so our next week's report will have, our report for February will have the budget numbers in it and been brought up to year to date, and that may.
And then we could probably expect that they would include those in these.
Since it's C and B's, I wouldn't want to be able to speak for them, but I know we'll provide it to them.
Okay.
And
All right.
so, because I don't know how they roll all that stuff together.
All right, because sometimes it doesn't make sense if you start,
Yeah,
just putting a bunch of numbers on the piece of paper that,
yeah.
when you look.
You have to know where you started
when
from
you
in
look
order
at
to know whether it's.
Who spent $5 million over here and what did they buy,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's probably a
All right.
variance because of the fact that we didn't have our budget approved, but I don't know that, but that could be the reason.
All right, thank you.
Do you have any other questions for Mr. McElroy? Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next is Cherokee Nation Business. Mr. Carson could not be here today. Next we have the Cherokee National Historical Society. Mr. Kelly.
Good afternoon. My report's going to be rather brief today. We're closed the month of January, so we don't have a lot happening in the way of earned income and admissions and stuff. But I do feel like things are on an upswing. We are up on the general sense with about 10,000 people served, so that remains the same. We did have a very significant improvement in our year-end campaign this past year, so I'm happy about that. We've been able to reduce the long-term debt. It now stands at $50,634, and that's as of the beginning it was around $500,000. So this is just a little bit left. Thank you. I will be glad when I can come in here and say it's gone. We are in a slow season, so it's probably going to slow down right now, but when we pick up, it'll probably be gone. I don't want to venture a guess, but I will be happy to report to the council when that happens. So I was excited about a grant of $30,000 we received in January from the Annenberg Foundation to sponsor a very unique exhibit on generations using artwork and generations of Cherokee people, and that's actually coming down the pike. I hope that all of y'all will be watching for that. And another commitment from Cherokee Phoenix to do an exhibit this summer that's should be fun. We're going to actually have live people in it, so that's just a little teaser for that, so I'll talk a little bit more. We continue to work on the capital projects, and very grateful to the assistance that C&E Tourism is offering us, and just the most recent thing that we've got accomplished on that front is we did receive a report from Dr. Brett Riggs of the University of North Carolina, and this report, in my opinion, is the most comprehensive study of a historical Cherokee village done today. So I'm excited about it. It's very detailed. It's very well documented through ethno-historical accounts and archaeological excavations. So I'm pretty excited about that. And that's all I have today. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Did you go to the meeting today at the City Hall?
No, I did not make it to that, but I did hear very positive things about where they thought the Cherokee Heritage Center should play into that. So
Yeah, and they talked a great deal about the Heritage Center, but one of the negatives was they couldn't find it. The signage was not, I mean, they brought in this expert from where? Do you know?
I don't remember where he's from, but I certainly agree with him on that, and it is something that we're working on, and hopefully this will help us.
And they gave the addresses, and they gave them, here's the things that we offer, and he came in as Joe Tourist, and he started trying to navigate Tahlequah, and the Heritage Center was one of the biggest things that he thought was a really big tourism plus for Tahlequah, but then he couldn't find it, and so I don't know if that's something that Cherokee Tourism or that your board can work on, or we could maybe help with, or whatever, to get some signage that would direct people to it, and maybe there by where you turn, a big sign. It used to be a good sign on the side of that convenience store, but it's faded out, and it just doesn't show much. But I'd certainly be willing to look at whatever we could do as a council maybe to rectify that, so that and the same thing could be said to the Merle Home and some other tourism locations, destinations here that could be more user-friendly.
I certainly agree with that, and I would appreciate any help that y'all can give us on that. But I will say already today, since that meeting, I've talked with Talisha Nichols of C&E Tourism about this, and I've talked to my marketing staff, and we're working on a plan and we've been talking about it for a while now. Everybody is sure that it's going to be pushed to the forefront. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other?
Mr. Soth.
Yeah, I just was wanting to comment on your staff at the Heritage Center. I went out there here a while back, and it was refreshing to see people were working expeditiously. It was a cold day, and you could have many excuses to be inside and hiding out somewhere, but those guys were out there, skinning poles and stuff like that. So it was kind of inspiring to see, everything was proceeding and they were working hard. So appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
That word to them.
I'll pass that along, because they do work hard. They face a lot of challenges, including the elements, and I certainly appreciate them, and I will pass that along. Appreciate you saying it. Is that all?
Any other questions for Mr. Kelly? Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you. Next is Career Services. Diane Kelly.
I believe Diane has been detained. You guys should have a report. If you have any questions that I can answer, I will answer. If not, I will refer those to her, let her get back with you.
Are there any questions for John? Okay. Thanks very much. Commerce, Ms. Knight.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You have a copy of our report, and I would point out, in an effort to try to get you some more specific information on the loans, we've changed some of the information on our reporting document. About 2/3 of the way down on the first page, where we talk about the scorecards, I've detailed out the number of commercial loans we've made this year and totaled them. Then I've also listed some information on some pending loans that we have. On the second page, under the notable accomplishments number 3, I detailed out the loans that we've made, the loans that we've closed so far this year, the approved loans, the number of jobs in the community that it's in. And then on number 5, I've included the available lending capital in each one of the loan programs so that you can actually see how much money is sitting out there available for loans. And that lending capital that's available, the pending applications are not a consideration in this cap. We didn't deduct the pending applications from this yet.
Ms. Fitchie.
On your 4 commercial loans you closed, you're talking about jobs created. How many of them was for Cherokees? I'm curious.
I do not know. I do not know, and we don't collect that information. If that's something that you would be interested in, then we could go back and try to start gathering that information. At this point, we just collect the number of jobs that they're creating.
I'm very much interested in how many are for Cherokees. So
Okay.
could you get that? Okay. Okay. And then on your mortgage assistance, I've asked this before and I haven't got an answer. How long have you had the mortgage assistance program?
The mortgage assistance with the $15,000 down payment, David, how long have we had the mortgage assistance program?
We started it actually in 2000, but there was a period of time we didn't have the program. We were funding it with non-federal funds in 05, for approximately 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, when we started funding it with the NAHASA funds.
Okay. I'm wanting to know how much we put in there since you all started doing it, the mortgage assistance program. I'd also like it broken down by county, how many foreclosures or bankruptcies we've had after we've given them the...
Okay. We will get that for you.
And once again, I'd like a good estimate of how much it's costing us per family to counsel and to get them the 15.
On the counseling, it's costing us approximately, and this is on the self-sufficiency counseling because that's the piece that we've had, and that piece has been in place for about 1.5 years, and it's costing us about $700 per family on the counseling piece. Did you want?
And that's the ones that successfully get it.
Those are the people that we counsel. They may have gone through short term, they may have gone through long term, they may have decided mortgage wasn't for them, but they've received some form of financial counseling from us.
Thank you.
Mr. Sutton.
Yeah, I've just got 2 questions, Ms. Knight. On these, you've got the community tourism plans. What's the community that's actively pursuing the
Marble City.
Marble City? And then the other question is the farmers market. What community is that?
That was actually just a feasibility study we were doing in-house to try to determine if it would be feasible to put a farmers market in Tahlequah, a Cherokee farmers market, and frankly, we just lost the employee that was doing that to C&E's Cultural Tourism Department, so I'm not sure it'll get accomplished this year.
Thank you.
Ms. Jordan.
Under this lending dollars available, that youth program, have you had a lot of applications for that?
We've had a few. We've had about 6 so far, and we've actually started, had one of our former employees, Alice Smith, is going around to the high schools. Now, Alice Smith, she's going out to the high schools, working with some of the agriculture and the home ec type classes to try to recruit more kids into that.
Is there a cap on that?
On the amount that they can get, $25,000.
Okay. And you just, so far, it's fairly new program.
Correct.
And you just had about 6 that successfully closed their loans. What are you all using for collateral?
It varies, actually. We're not real strict on the collateral on those loans. We try to take what we can. If they're under 18, we ask their parents to co-sign for them also. And we provide more hands-on assistance once we close their loan when they start their business to try to help them get all their processes set up. So.
And I guess that the one above it, is just the adult version of the program?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
What's the cap on it?
It too is 25,000. And both of those programs are for low income families, that's HUD money,
Family of 4, what is that?
about 40,000.
And you take the parents' income?
All the income in the household.
Have you had much response on the adult part?
No, we're struggling with that one too, so we're trying to, and that one we've had for a longer period of time. We're just having a hard time getting people through the process.
Could you next month bring us some applications?
Sure.
Because I remember last time you were wanting us to kind of get out in the community and give that information out. If I had applications, and I bet everybody else probably needs applications.
Sure
we
can.
could just put them in our satchels and take them with us.
Sure can. And we're trying to actually form put together a fill-in-the-blank type of business plan for those so that they don't have to complete it all. They can just answer questions for us. So we're trying to work on simplifying that process.
Most of them it's a stumbling block for them is the business plan.
The business plan. And we do provide them with a lot of assistance, but they still, I think if we could do a answer and question type thing, that it would help.
And just one more question on the, and this is unrelated to that, on the mortgage assistance, how many mortgage assistance loans are you wanting to make for this fiscal year?
On the mortgage assistance grants, is that what you're?
Yeah.
We really haven't gotten into that. I think David would have to answer that question. We haven't actually taken that program over yet. And so basically what we'll do is use the funding that David hasn't expended yet.
Now, the program you have that you're doing now, where you have 51 families?
Right. Those are people that are in self-sufficiency counseling. And we anticipate probably within the next year, the 5% that are short-term will be the ones that graduate within this year.
So how many will that be?
Geez, I'm not very good at adding numbers. Shay, do you have a number? It should be 5% of the 280.
14?
So, yes.
So your goal for that program is to close 14 more?
Yes, that's our estimate for the remainder of the year. And that won't include people that enter into the program that only need short-term counseling. So that number should actually be higher.
Okay. Are there any questions for Ms. Knight? Yes, Mr. Vice.
And I'm on your scenic byway committee. What's driving that, or what are we looking to do on that?
What that actually will do is if the state of Oklahoma designates this route as a scenic byway, then what will happen next is a corridor management program would be put into place, and we would develop that along with C&E Cultural Tourism and the communities that are along there. And eventually the communities would be eligible for grants to try to help with signage and to try to help with tourism development. And it focuses a lot around the lake. If you're interested in what the specific path would be, the specific byway, then we can get that information to you.
Okay. I know through Federal Highway there's some money for the scenic byway highways too, so if you hadn't looked at that resource,
What we actually do is we get approval through the state of Oklahoma first, and they've driven the byway and actually made the remark that our application was the best one that they had ever seen. Their committee should meet in the next couple of months and approve it, and then once that's done, then it goes to the federal level to get federal designation, and that opens the door for more money.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Knight? Thanks very much, Ann.
Thank you.
Next item of business are consent items. The first one is cemetery restoration assistance applications. We have two. The first one is in District 2 for the Peavine community.
Chairman?
Yes.
I would move for approval of that one cemetery in District 2.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. District 3 is the Sanders Cemetery. Do I hear a motion for its approval?
Seeing nobody, I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So those are carried. Next are the tarot certifications. Yes.
We had one here for District 5. We need to, what do we need to do? Submit that, or-
Okay.
It's a Thompson Cemetery.
That motion will add this agenda.
Yeah, you want to make a motion to add to this agenda, to amend the agenda to approve it?
Make a motion to add this agenda.
Okay. So those in favor of amending the agenda to add the cemetery, Thompson Cemetery, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And next, the cemetery is the Thompson Cemetery in Delaware County, near the Sycamore community.
I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Next item are the tarot certifications. Mr. Baker.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve as recommended for the approvals and the renewals.
Ms. Watts.
I'm not for sure how to address this. Is over. There's an individual listed on there as their company, and I know that individual is not Indian or not Cherokee. So how are they getting approved? Phil Gibbons. How is it Phil Gibbons' company, but he's not Indian? How are we approving that?
Well, if you look at the tarot, provisions and everything else.
You want to come to the front?
That is one we were looking. He was certified in the past due to his wife being the Indian. We did they pass that one on there? Is that one that we passed, or is it stuff?
It's for renewal. Is what it's listed as. The way I understand it.
Did they table that, or did they renew that?
It's recommended for renewal.
Okay. As of right now, his wife just passed away, and that's why she was running a lot of the inside the business. And tarot is 51% Indian ownership. And basically, he did part of the work, and she did a lot of the paperwork, the accounting, any payroll. And he was certified, I don't know how many years ago, was that 8 or 9 years ago? And we are looking into that. I'm looking into that personally to see if he will still be certified. And if not, we will act in a monthly meeting that we have to change that. But as of right now, we don't have a ruling on that to...
Yes.
So, I know I probably wouldn't have had much, but why is it named after him and it's still 51% Indian ownership?
Well, you don't look at the name. When the committee certified him, they had to look at the ownership and what part of the the Indians did part of the work. You can have any name of the company. He does insurance, he does construction. So
you're recommending we table this for a month?
Yes, you can table that for a month, and we will look into this further on him.
Table
The one company. Is that the?
You make that in the form of a friendly amendment?
I'd like to.
Second.
Friendly amendment.
Well, no, Mr. Baker made the initial, he has to approve.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we had a motion to approve the list as presented. That never received a second. We need a second for that before we would go to accept any friendly amendments or anything else from there.
Okay.
If he's unable to accept it, I don't want to second it.
Yeah, and I would withdraw my motion.
I would like to make the motion and table the one company until next month.
And approve all others.
With approving all others as recommended by Tarot.
So, Okay, there's a second.
I have multiple seconds.
Any discussion?
When does discussion take place?
Right now, so.
Okay.
Yes.
Every month y'all bring these companies to us,
Correct.
and we don't know who owns them.
Who what?
We don't know who owns the companies. I would like information about who owns the companies. Who's the 51% owner of each one of these companies? I would like for you to put that next to the company. I mean, I would like to know who the owners are.
Okay. We do have the owner list on the website. You can look at that, pull that up on our Carroll page.
You could also put it on this form.
We can.
And to clarify, are you wanting just the 51% ownership, or would you like the whole breakdown on ownership? It just has to be a simple listing, but.
Well, let's just put down full ownership, but somewhere there designate who the 51% owner is. Put full ownership, but designate the one we're talking about is 51% owned, because what you were talking
We
about.
used to do that, I think. At some point, we've lost that.
And I know what you're talking about. I believe he did lose his wife, so I am kind of wondering how, if you've lost your 51% owner, how are you renewing the, I mean, it's just a question.
Right.
And I don't think it's fair to the other tarot businesses if that's not fair. And I know it's a tragic loss. I'm not, but how can we certify him as Indian-owned if he's not?
We are still looking into this, so it's not something that we just dropped as far as the committee. I am looking into this.
Okay.
Mr. Cobb.
I know this is minor, but since the street name is actually the former church, can you make sure that's Spears World Travel is Keeler and not Keller in Bartlesville? I know that's minor, but they're on Keeler, and since that is one of our former chiefs.
What travel was that?
Spears World Travel.
Spears World Travel.
Yeah, it's Keeler. Thanks.
Okay. Any other discussion on the approval of the tarot certifications? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed.
Will he bring this next month, this same list, and show us who owns these companies?
You want this list?
I would like to ask that this list be brought to us, even though we passed it, be brought to us next month showing who the owners are, and that any future lists show who the owners are.
Can you send one to Shelley at the council office to distribute to us with the ownership for the ones that?
Yes, I will send that in the form as we do. We'll rewrite the form for the name. We'll have to go back and do this. You want them on the recertifications or on every one that we do?
All of them. And if you can get this list to Shelley before the next meeting, we appreciate it. And then the next
For the next meeting, okay.
Have this one. Okay. Okay, thanks, John. Next, we have the law enforcement request.
Mr. Chairman, there's only one request this month. It's $7,500 assistance for Town Locust Grove split between Ms. Fraley and Mr. Soap for police vehicles.
Move for the approval.
Any discussion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is our community assistance.
Mr. Chairman, there were several additions to the community assistance subsequent to the distribution of the report. In addition to the items that was listed in your report that you received in the mail, the following have been submitted for consent. $500, Mr. Soap. Four Corners Helping Hands, organizational support. $500, Mr. Crittenden, Peavine School, for the help with the extended care program. $1,000 split, $500 Mr. Snell, $500 Mr. Buzzard, Delaware County Livestock Show. $500 Ms. Fraley, Pryor High School, assistance with the prom activities. Evening Shade Community for $1,000, Ms. Fulbright, organizational support, as well as Blue Sky Water Society in the same amount, and another $1,000 to the same organization for Ms. Fishenhawk. $350 to Zion School, the state academic meet for Ms. Fishenhawk, and Ms. Fishenhawk $350 for the Stillwell Middle School, also for the state academic meet. And lastly, $500 split, $250 each, Mr. Snell, Mr. Buzzard, for the Delaware County Intertribal Youth Council assistance with their 8th annual scholarship powwow. That completes the list.
Okay.
So, on that 500 to Pryor, you took half of it.
Pryor? You go on.
Yes, Mr. So.
I've got a question real quick. Could you explain the legal carryover item at the top of this spreadsheet real quick?
Yeah, let me make sure I got your thing right here. The 500 is going to be $250 each, not $250 on the top of the 500. A few years ago, the council earmarked a certain amount of funding per council member to be utilized for legal assistance funds at their discretion for certain legal activities that they may need outside counsel on. And the determination was made in those budgets that any amount of those funds that went unutilized by the end of the year, that is the only thing in the budget that carries over into the next year. And it carries over into the community assistance fund. Any unspent community assistance doesn't even carry over, but the legal fees do. They just change face when they come over from the previous year. It's an incentive to, if you don't need your legal fees, there could be more assistance in the community out of the general assistance fund the following year.
Yes.
On the legal fees, is that for questions that we get, or if somebody gets mad because we make a decision for us personally, or is it for members of the community, or can you explain it a little bit?
It's for, and I'm just going to go from memory here. I think it's, I can't remember the resolution number, but what it is you budget each member of the tribal council $5,000, $10,000 for legal advice. You have a council attorney. However, if you want independent research or any other legal work that you think you need that is tribal business, that is an issue before the tribal council.
Anything under the sun?
Yeah, as long as it's related to Cherokee Nation businesses. You can't go and hire your own divorce attorney or something.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't start that rumor.
Hypothetical.
Right.
That is, that's what it's for. And in the council a couple years ago, if you didn't expend it, it carries over to this
Okay.
fund.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Jordan.
Can we add to that list $500 apiece from myself and Mr. Baker for the Cherokee County Spring Livestock Show?
500 each.
It was a Cherokee County.
Spring Livestock Show.
Okay.
Also, in that, since this is two of them now, there are these county shows that are going to have premium sales associated with them. Don't forget about the Community Youth Grant program that I see 1,000 or 1,500. Is it 1,500 per organization? There's 3 and 5. 3 for an individual. Okay. Those funds are also available, so you might want to make sure your local organizers of those premium sales are aware of that program. And they have an application on the web they can go to.
Are there any other additions to community assistance? If not, I'll entertain a motion for their approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Next are the roads.
Mr. Chairman, the road report went out. Since it went out, there has been one project, a significant project that was sent over from Mr. Lynn, requesting that if possible, consideration could be given. So I amended the report, and with your consent, Mr. Chairman, added the North 145th Street East Avenue project in Tulsa, or North Tulsa.
Owasso.
Oh, is that in Owasso? Okay. I guess it would be, wouldn't it, 145th Street North. It's a $153,000, $810 project. $76,905, as you'll see in your amended reports, are coming out of both Mr. Engel and Mr. Cobb's motor vehicle tax fund. In addition to that, Mr. Thornton had a Marble City Road project funding that was contracted for $99,797 out of also the vehicle tag funds. And lastly, the special bridge funding budget requested, Mr. Buzzard requested or contracting project for the Yellow Tree Cemetery Road for $4,069. And that completes the road and bridge list for this month.
Any discussion?
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. And old business, there being none. New business is item 1, Cherokee Nation Industries as a construction contractor. I believe Ms. Watts, you had
Yes, and
requested
I know it
this.
says possible action on there, but I am requesting that we take no action today and that we just have dialogue. This was an item that the body requested at the subcommittee for Taro concerning, if I understood it right, it was concerning how we're utilizing our own construction entity on different construction projects across the tribe. And I'd like to begin if Mr. Collins would come up and just describe what that entity looks like today, how many people are employed and those kind of things, and what projects you're currently working on.
Good afternoon.
Cherokee Nation Construction Management Services was formed in '05, which was a transfer of employees from the Cherokee Nation to CNI. At that time, there was, I'm going to say approximately, I don't have the numbers in front of me, approximately 30 employees that were transferred over, 25 to 30 employees transferred over. From that time to where we are today, we've successfully completed the Tahlequah Casino, the Salisaw Health Clinic, the Nowata Health Clinic has maybe a few more days for punch out, the Muskogee Health Clinic, and the Sequoia High School Gym. The Muskogee Health Clinic is still probably has about a month left on the punch out. And again, the Nowata has just a few days left. Current projects that we have is the storage buildings with the Cherokee Nation. It's just a small project. It's a project that lasts probably 60 to 90 days. And then we have some work out on the Marcoma properties. We have had some commitments. I say commitments verbal. I mean, I've talked with Sean on some different smaller projects they may have, such as an airport hangar. And even working with Todd, there are some other small projects they have coming up. But we've gone from as high as at one time of 40 some individuals in our construction group. We're down right now to where we have about 8. We only have what I want to consider 4 or 5 in the core team that's left. We're in a point of trying to reestablish contracts or commitments through the nation and through C&E, and determining what our path of success is to build back up. And as we know in the construction business, it's feast and famine, it's up and down, but without having bonding capability, and that's been brought up in many discussions, without bonding capability, I don't have the ability to go out and leverage other outside business during the peaks and valleys to help smooth the business out and grow it. The employees, it's the difficult part with the employees is that, job security. They like that, as much work that goes on within the nation to be able to keep them busy. There's a lot of other avenues we're looking at. There's possibly some opportunity if we look at things that our employees can do in program managing through maintenance or through other areas. But that's kind of where things are right now. It's there's not anything probably, and so we'll start looking at the health projects, but they're not until '09, and some of the other major projects are further out. There's nothing right at this moment that we have that's putting me in a growth mode. The only thing I'm looking at is how to look at rebuilding, doing some training, and then looking at how to bring in maybe some different personnel to ramp up for projects down the road. So I'm not sure, did that answer the question pretty much?
And I think one of the questions that the committee also had at the time is are there internal barriers that have been created, or are there just natural barriers because we're our own entity trying to seek our own entity, like with that CNI, CNE, Cherokee Nation, all those construction projects that are going on? I don't think CNB is building anything.
No CNB.
Or did we have an opportunity? I guess is there any work on the PACE Center and those kind of things?
I'm not familiar with the PACE Center. I know it's been brought up before. I can't speak knowledgeably about that project, though, where it's at this time. It has been brought up. Barriers, I think the barriers are within ourselves. I think that's where it's at. I think that sometimes the developing of the team, that when we took on the construction business, we didn't take on an infusion of rebuilding a finance group, a project management group, estimating group. We took on the employees and then started to try to go from a ground zero. We were in the middle of certain projects trying to develop a whole new company. There was not an infusion of cash. There was not certain plans laid out that probably could have been laid out. Now, I wasn't involved in all of those pieces at that time, so I don't want to cast any stones, but when I look back at the history of where we are and where we are today, what I don't want to do is go through another, what I'm going to call a false start. I want to be able to take something and going forward and just take the lessons learned.
Mr. Hembry has...
Yes, and this is just a question I'm trying to get my mind around this. And Sean, maybe you might be able to help us. When we're doing the casino expansions, we have a Cherokee Nation totally owned construction company, but CME is going to require you to bond to do that work?
No.
Okay.
No. We have in the past had to bond. We would make our subs bond. We would meet the requirements of bonding the subs.
Okay.
So we didn't bond for the Tahlequah Casino, so now I'm not saying that would be I don't think that would be a new requirement.
All right. That's one thing I just didn't understand. Okay.
Okay. Excuse me. Continue.
Okay.
I brought this at the bequest of the subcommittee, so.
So is there any questions of Mr. Collins or further discussion, Mr. Buzzer?
Well, I want to make a comment, and just something that the council or the committee can absorb and think about it is, we had a lot of jobs going on. Now, the casinos are probably under contract now. It's probably a little bit late to try to get them some of that work, but there's some other things that may be coming about. But what we're facing here is some of the bonding issue that Mr. Collins has talked about. The other thing, would the council or would this committee be comfortable with letting CNI perform these works? Because what's going to happen is that some of these tarot vendors are not going to like this stuff if we form our own company. And I'll go back to this again about the roads program. That program could be run within the Cherokee Nation itself. What we do now, we go out and we do all the contracting to the outside contractors. But there again, you're going to be stepping on somebody's toes out there if CNI gets all the work for the nation. So you're going to have to start looking at those questions and answering those questions. Are we willing to do that? Because I remember some time back the same thing come up. Where we had a small vendor that made the same product that the nation was going to start making, and well, he come in there to the council and they backed off and we never did do that particular thing. So those are some questions that's going to have to be answered, before we actually do this. But myself, I'm for having a construction company that can do that. I don't know if we want to go into full 100% construction, but at least construction management. Because I think we got some people that can go out and do the estimating, or can get the people that can go out and do the estimating, and then have those people that go out and actually hire subs, and those subs would bond. So there's a lot of things to be worked out before, we would jump into this 100%. But those are some things that this committee need to consider before we do anything.
Okay. Any other comments, Mr. Baker?
Yeah, and we need to be extremely careful. We've got to be competitive. I don't care if I'm building it for my best friend. I've got to be competitive, And I remember the first home I built, or was going to build, I bid everything, exactly what the materials were, the whole 9 yards, and went by the lumber yard, and he said, well, let me look at it right quick. Well, it came in $10,000 cheaper than what I knew it was going to cost me to build. And I said, well, okay, you've been doing this a long time. I'll just sign a contract with you. Now, did he make money? I don't know. I think he lost money, but he got the contract. And if we build it ourselves and we miss the target, guess where that money's coming from? It's coming right from this pocket to that pocket. And we have to bail them out. And until we can build it or grow it to where we can be on time and under budget or on budget, then we don't need to be tackling $80 million casino projects. Now, if we think we've got proficiency in an area of it or whatever, but you 6 months late on building a $80 million casino, and that's millions of dollars a day that you're losing for each day that you're not on schedule. And it's not an indictment on CNI. It's just you got to crawl before you walk. And I think that we would be making a major mistake if we just said, okay, CNI is going to have all the construction of the casinos from now on. And we don't have the core competencies, and we don't have the track record, and we don't have the steel relationships that can buy it a little cheaper here and a little cheaper there, and then you get into the union thing and all of that. And I'm just saying that I truly believe that Sallisaw Casino, which was similar size to Tahlequah Casino, was built cheaper and quicker. And now, why that happened or how that happened, I don't know. But it did, and they didn't go over budget. And so anyway, I just, we really need to look at it, and you need to be competitive with the pricing, and maybe we need you bonded so that if it doesn't work, we've got some place to go besides our hip pocket. Thank you.
Ms. Watts.
I just want to make sure, because this was an action out of our subcommittee to bring this forward. The only thing I'm hearing from the folks who've spoken is that we do support our business and we would like to see it grow. And maybe, but I'm not clear on there's not a clear message coming about bonding or how we can do that. So, but I'm just hearing that there's general support for the growth of this company or arm of CNI.
Well, the other point I want to make, and this is part getting into Taro here, is we've got a company that's owned by the Cherokee Nation. They could employ Cherokee people. Now, you get back into if you have full-time employees, it's not going to work. You've got to have a core crew, and that's who you're going to keep, and you hire people as you need them. The other thing about Taro, and I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but we give Taro vendors a contract. Somebody delivers paper to C&E, to Cherokee Nation. Well, they say they're 51% on Taro, but how many Cherokees does the company work? They may be Taro owned and work non-Cherokees as far as that goes. I mean, there's no law against it. But at least, we have an Indian-owned company, and I can see Cherokees working for that. And I think what we're looking at is jobs. And if we can create jobs, but I agree with what Mr. Baker said, that we've got to have the right people in the right place when we start this thing off. So there's some work that's got to be done up front before we just jump into it. a construction company, but you know, there's just a lot of things that need to be worked out before we make those decisions, but those are things that I think Carrie brought it to the table today to let people start thinking about it. So, you know, I'd like to see something happen. You know, I just hate to see all of our contracts going to non-native workers or non-native contractors.
Mr. Baker.
Yeah, and it's not your fault. You wrote the charge, but the tribe gives C&I the contract for the heat and air and the lighting systems of the Cherokee Nation. And I show up, and they've got 15 Mexicans out of South Texas doing every bit of the work. Not one Cherokee, not one Cherokee supervisor, not even a Cherokee apprentice to see if they wanted to learn how to do that business. And so, I mean, just because it's owned by the Cherokee Nation doesn't mean that we're doing the right thing. And it doesn't mean that not a single one of these light fixtures was put in by a Cherokee. Not a single dime in salaries was paid to a Cherokee. Same way with the heat and air systems on top. So, and maybe that's how they could be competitive. That part I don't know. But it was pretty disheartening to come out here and there be 14 ladders in here and not speaking Cherokee or English. And it was pretty... So, I mean, we just because we own it doesn't mean that we're doing the right thing either.
Curtis, I think, has his hand
I have
up.
a
And then I
question
do.
to comment on. Is that what Bill has said?
So my one question is, in your construction entity at this point, your core team, I assume, is Cherokee, correct?
Our Cherokee construction's been 100% Cherokee from day one. Never
Under
less.
your
No, from day one. What he's referring to is a C&D contract for this area, the building, when they were going through heating and lighting. It was under more of the GEG. Nothing to do with construction. What we did, as when Mr. Baker pointed this out and the call came over, I do remember it, you know, I think from the standpoint of the person we subbed to, we put a stop on it as soon as we found out and brought our construction team in to help support changing it. It took longer. They had to teach us exactly what we were going to do, but it took a little longer to do it, but we did it and met that. It was never intent for that to happen. So it wasn't even construction.
Oh.
And 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I said it wasn't you. And, but...
I understand. I mean, I guess I had some of the things that I'm hearing gives me concerns, though. When I'm told to be a business and competitive, and yet have to work hard to try to figure out how to get minimum wage impacts, how it impacts the business as well in certain areas. Not so much in the construction, but it does. Medical claims costs and medical costs to try and give the Cherokees the best benefits that we possibly can, where I'm competing with other companies that don't hold the same standard I'm trying to hold for the nation. With the Cherokee employment, high level, good insurance benefits, you know, taking care of things, new minimum wage acts, trying to comply and being held to be at the same competitive level where keeping the money in the pot. Of the $500 million in projects estimated 2 years ago, how much are we exporting out and how much talent could we have hired and put together? I'm not blaming anybody, but when you back up and take a look at the hard facts, construction management is construction management. It's understanding quality standards, sequencing events, putting it together. We could have hired a lot of Cherokees with that talent, but with no job security and no plan, you know, that's part of the concern. I face exactly what I'm hearing is there's not a unison of a plan or a commitment that we're going to succeed in developing Cherokee jobs in construction, building the skill sets for long term, and then getting the bonding capabilities in place. This is some of the things that I struggle with. We've had other special meetings. myself, Mr. Slayton, and we're looking at opportunities, how to do this. It won't happen overnight, and I do not want to, on any point, try to do something that's going to cost money. I'm not going to sit here and say we can build a casino today, because we can't. Okay? Can't do it. Okay? 2 years ago, if you told me I needed to build a casino, without a doubt I could have done it. Without a doubt if I had the commitment. But don't put me in a position. I'm trying to figure out how to start from fresh right now. Lessons learned. We've had a lot of lessons learned. We need to take that as a body, okay, and start working on how we take that forward. What are we going to build in 10 years? We all really don't know what we're going to build in 10 years, but do we want to be ready for that? That's what I'm looking at. How we ramp up and try to engage, okay, and take the lessons learned, working with C&E and the nation, and building the right team and the right model. That's what I'm looking to do. That's really all I'm looking to do. So that we can have something we can look back and say, I'm glad we did that. Okay? That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other comments? If not,
Just want to make sure all minds are clear. There is no action. I need to do no further activity on behalf of the Tarot group, is what I'm hearing. That we're satisfied at this point.
Satisfied.
yes.
Satisfied with what? They're doing construction or?
That they're doing construction and there's no action that we need to take as a legislative body.
Ms. Fraley?
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, I'm thinking. Good.
Mr. Cobb?
I don't know how to answer Counselor Callan Watts' question, but as a business person, I mean, I'm hearing someone that, you know, I really enjoyed I appreciate your just pretty much straightforward, this is how it is. I mean, that's refreshing, to be honest with you. What I would hope is that we have a little bit of discussion real quick on what Councilor Callan Watts is asking, because what we have here, in my opinion, is somebody that's saying, I want to get this done right, and us as a body need to figure out how to help him do this right. And I want to make sure we're not just trying to get out of here by 5 o'clock, and I want to make sure I'm hearing some concerns, and I'm hearing somebody standing here saying, has used the word plan, has used the word moving forward. I think our job as a body is to help this individual do that, and then C&I do that. And I'm not telling you I know what the answer is, but I know our job is to help C&I accomplish the plan. The problem is I would like to maybe discuss what the plan is, and I haven't heard anybody yet really raise any objections to just, or in answer to your question, Councilor Watts, is there any other discussion? And nobody seems to. I just feel like we're in limbo and everybody's. Go ahead. I'm finished. I know you have something else. So go ahead.
Well, I mean, they are in their infancy, and I don't think we need to, as a body. He's got his own board of directors. He's getting a cash influx from C&B. Maybe he needs to go out and develop and prosper before we even ever think about having C&E. He'd be the only contractor for them, or to tie them up saying that no, you can't go out and bid. We're going to give it to C&E, and they're going to save us money, and they're going to build quicker. And
that's what I mean. And my point is, maybe we just need to get out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying we do. Maybe just getting out of the way.
And I think that's right. I think let C&E do their thing. Let C&I do their thing. And if they develop to a point where they can be of service in a timely, cost-efficient manner, but I don't want to pay for the learning curve. And we need to, I mean, we've got 15 years on this compact, and 6 of them are gone, And so we're sitting there looking at a nine-year window, and if you mess up 6 months of that on a major project at Catoosa or a major project at West Side Loan, it's going to cost us more than we could just give dividend checks to the contractors that are working for them and be cheaper and better off. And do I want it to develop? Yes. But I don't think we ought to do it by virtue of having one entity forced to do business with the other entity until that entity's ready. But they both got their board of directors. They both, have their own missions. And, do we need to maybe CNB come forth with a little bit more money so that they can bond a $10 billion job and do a cash bond or something along that line to get their feet wet with somebody besides us? Then yes. But as far as Kara's question, do we need to bring it back to vote on CNI being the contractor of choice? I don't think we're ready. And I think they've got a lot of development to do before we get to that point. That's my personal opinion.
Mr. Soap.
Mr. Collins, there's certain business aspects that we're good at competing in, and there's certain ones that what I'm hearing you say that we should avoid based upon the criteria that we set for ourselves for the wages and things like that. So could you just repeat that observation to me as far as we're good with the management side because we feel like we can be competitive both in salary, maybe our job security is something a little bit vague, but on a routine contractor basis, we're not competitive because of certain internal regulations that we have instilled upon ourselves.
Right. Well, one of the concerns on the minimum wage, I mean, I'm all for people making more money, flat out. But who I compete with on the construction side is more program management, it's more salary. The minimum wage act didn't really affect me there because we're not going out and self-performing. But if I had to go out and try to do self-performance, it might affect a little bit, but not too much because those are trade skills. Those are usually a little more higher paid individuals. Where the minimum wage impact does affect me more is where I'm doing more piecework, as Meredith knows. We're competing with China, we're competing with Mexico, we're competing with a lot of companies, and even our competitors in the general areas don't have those wage impacts, and they don't provide the medical plans that we provide. So it's difficult to compete where I'm dealing with very small margins of net profits possible if you produce everything just perfect and right on time. Now, that's where it affects us. I'm on most of all of our contracts for multiple years. So when those impacts came into place, those wage increases, I couldn't go call the customer up and say, "Hey, we got a new law." No, it's sorry, you have to eat it. And that's what happens to us. So we're working hard in other areas to try to find solutions to save money, but in effect, sometimes that can cost jobs because you try to figure out how to do it, in a different way. But on the construction side, to me, it's about experience. I know that I could go out and hire the experienced men who could put any job together that you can think of that we could build. It's not about getting our feet wet. It's not about that. It's about having the backlog to make the commitments to people. You're not going to get people to come work for you if you don't have some backlog or some kind of promise of where we're headed. The nation is my only customer. When I say nation, I include CNE into that. That's the only customer we have. Now, if we had the bonding capability, there's so much more out there from an 8A or a contractual basis. So much more to look at and grow. And so that's what we're looking at. But it's not about bonding $5 and $10 million. It's about making and finding $25 million, $30 million and setting it aside in some type of fund that we can bond against. And usually, typically, you might get 4 to 5 to 1 on your bonding capability. So, a $25 million CD sitting somewhere, might give me the ability to go find as much as $100 million in projects. Our unique advantage is that we're tribal. We do not have contract ceilings. And we have a very strong legal department within C&B and the shared services to mitigate all the risks. There's been tons of changes over the last year or two, so it's about how we execute the strategies. But back on the minimum wage, that's some of the things I see in how we try to compete in the industry.
If I can follow up, Mr. Collins, the things that we have a competitive advantage which other organizations don't have, that they have to pay higher insurance premiums, or and they've got to carry this labor force throughout the valleys as well as the peaks. But there's certain things that you're saying that, or what I'm picking up, is that we have certain metrics that we apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so what metrics have we established that you're saying we say you got to do this for this job for the lowest dollar, and that's it? Then you are non-competitive. But if we said that you have to have a 75% Native American Cherokee crew doing this work, can you compete? We didn't establish the dollar metrics. So where's the confusion for the metrics established? Is that this council is establishing those metrics because we're approving budgets, or what is that issue there?
When we compete, it's possibly how we're getting scorecarded. I'm getting, how I'm scorecarded.
Council,
not so much the council, but
or you
possibly how the nation or C&E may scorecard my bid.
When you say the nation, who are you talking about? The council, or are you talking about?
I wouldn't be talking about the council. The buy, who my customer would be. Internal customers,
right.
Internal policies. When they scorecard, they look for Taro and they look for Cherokee, but those companies aren't held at the same standards that I would be held at, from a standpoint of Cherokee employment, from a standpoint of minimum wage. So when we go and even trying to have similar medical benefits. And I'm talking about this, for example, of just if I put a bid in at C&E or at the nation on whatever product lines it might be, I have to be competitive.
Right. I can see where if I said you have to secure 5 bids in a 6-month period,
mm-hmm.
and that's your scorecard or your metric, and C&E over here says you got no bids because you are non-competitive, then you fail. Then I can understand that. So is that what's happening?
A little bit, yes.
But if I said again that you have to go out and hire 10 people and have a 75% Native American crew out here doing the job, we're willing to incur higher costs because you offer a higher quality product, or you're on time versus
right.
Late. Then I don't there's something going on between these organizations, that one is being internally setting metrics on dollars, and then there's other influences or desires from, say, the council that says we want Cherokees at work, we want, these are our metrics, but then that's the part that maybe we need to agree on, is the metrics for how you're evaluated, dollars versus employment or success rates or whatnot.
It's a whole can of worms, I can tell you. It is a difficult process to try to remain competitive in certain areas, depending on what it is exactly that we're dealing with. There's a lot of different products, a lot of different services we provide. So,
well, I have 2 more people, then I'm going to call an end to this discussion. Mr. Buzzard?
Yeah, I just, Chris had asked some of the questions I was going to ask, but I just want to elaborate what Mr. Baker was talking about a while ago. And he has a lot of valid points, don't get me wrong. He has some valid points, and I think this is what this conversation is about, mm-hmm. Brian, to make sure that you're hearing what Mr. Baker and what I'm saying, and Chris and the rest of the people are saying, so you can take those into consideration when you're looking at this endeavor. But I think what what I feel like as a council member here, if we're going to do something like that, then we need to support it, or at least listen to your pitch of what you're going to be doing here. We owe you that much to come forward and listen to it anyway. Then we can make an informed decision and take into consideration what Mr. Baker just said. Exactly. He has legitimate ideas what he just said, because I know some of the stuff did happen. Those are things we learn from. So I think we still owe you some time to listen to what your numbers are presenting to us. Okay? Thank you, Karen.
Ms. Freeman.
I still don't understand why we're having this discussion, because you have a board of directors.
Yes.
Don't you have a plan that you present to your board of directors?
Yes.
I don't think we should be legislating how you run your business, because you have a board of management to do that.
Exactly.
So why are you here? I mean, what is the objective of being here?
Don't answer, ma'am.
Okay.
It is at the request, because the subcommittee Taro meeting, that I heard from this body that they wanted him to present on this to better understand. And part of it may have been the bonding issue, and for us to look at that.
Well, has your board looked at that?
We-
I still have the
Go
floor.
ahead, you still have the floor.
It's my fault, not his.
But, no, it's nobody's fault, but I mean it that way. But you have to go out and bid on wiring harnesses, right?
Yes.
You have set aside for wiring harnesses, right? With the government, federal government.
Well, we've only got one set aside.
But that's a possibility.
Yes, there's opportunities for set asides, which,
Isn't there opportunities in construction for bidding and set asides?
yes,
Okay, then why are we having this discussion?
it was probably bonding. In all honesty, it was probably the bonding issue.
What do you need to do to get bonding?
I need $25 million set aside in some type of cash account that I can use that as an asset for bonding.
What did your board say about it?
It's been submitted to CMB. CMB is looking at all of the legal and sovereignty issues around that, and if the assets are available to look into the funding. We've had many discussions yesterday. We had a special meeting to discuss it, because the longer it takes, I mean, the only projects I have are just trying to do a few small projects. I don't have anything that is major. Construction budget is losing money going forward. We're losing money in that area, and that's the concern I have.
So the bonding is the hurdle that you have.
Bonding is the big hurdle.
To be successful.
It is a big hurdle. We did a CNB, I know Callie assisted with this. We did back 2 years ago. We did a 5-year business. We looked at the whole business plan. What is successful to be successful in construction? Bonding and some type of a agreement, a working agreement that makes good sense to work with the nation and C&E on their projects to be competitive and to do a good job. We have to be able to have those two are the key points. And so we don't have the bonding solution. So it's hard to go out and recruit individuals to come in and run a construction company if there's nothing to build. So that's kind of where it's at. And that's the concerns I have. So.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we appreciate your time and thanks for all your hard work.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Next, I think Ms. Coates, you have a motion?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Before going to this next item, I would like to move to amend the agenda. And I apologize for the irregularity of this. I've been trying to be recognized from the beginning of the meeting, and I guess I haven't been seen or heard. But
I apologize for that.
No problem. It's all new. Education has a grant with a March 26th deadline on it that they need a resolution from us today. And I believe Margaret Raymond is there. Did I see her?
Yes.
In the audience? Yes. And I think she's prepared to speak to this. But I would like to move to amend the agenda so that we can take action on this today.
Okay. Is that to hear on that right now? Okay.
Either right now or as item 4,
Okay,
whatever.
We'll do it now. Is there any discussion on amending the agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And Ms. Raymond will.
This is an application to go to the Administration for Native Americans with the Department of Health and Human Services.
Ms. Watts.
I didn't want to interrupt. I was just getting. Well, I'm curious what the communities are.
Excuse me?
Isn't that the one with the communities?
No.
I thought that one was the one with the communities.
We plan to serve communities. This is a project in which we will be working with young people and after-school programs in a school in each of the 9 districts and community centers in each of the 9 districts to have a monthly community event to teach language, culture, and life skills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Julie, think it was great.
That was cool, Julia.
Okay. Next is our funding support for a large organization. Ms. Coates.
Yes, thank you. This is, I believe Shelley has distributed budgets from both education and community services.
Yes, she has.
This is support to begin to establish some cultural activities, a speakers bureau, support for a picnic in Northern California, and just some logistical support for our 10 at-large organizations in California, New Mexico, and Texas. And the total amount of this budget, my estimate was that it would be about $100,000. As has been known to happen, I neglected to factor in indirect costs, and so the total amount of these 2 budgets is $121,594.04. So about $17,000 of that is indirect cost, so it's pretty close to what I was estimating as total support for the organizations exclusive of those indirect costs. So I would put this in the form of a motion to the council to accept this as an addition to the budget mod for this time.
And I heard a second. Mr. Cobb?
Yeah.
Discussion.
And I have a friendly amendment that we will pass this today with the idea that the administration comes back to us with at least a once a year or twice a year mailing on behalf of the in-district community organizations. It doesn't have to be for each individual one, but it needs to be on behalf of the tribe to our registration on who are the community organizations in the 14 counties for attendance. Because if we do it for at-large, we need to do it on behalf of our in-district groups.
I would accept that amendment.
Mr. Cobb? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion? On the friendly amendment was accepted, so on the motion itself.
Yeah, this is, we have, Shelley, what's that legislation we have for council? Is that profit, the nonprofit? Can we do this before the nonprofit is approved?
Yes. Because this doesn't have anything to do with money going directly to those organizations.
Okay, this is just for...
This is for the administration costs to put on picnics for the organizations in California which are already in existence. And also for the education department, the majority is for the education department to develop programs to present to communities. And I'll refer to our attorney to correct on that.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a budget modification. I mean, you can set up a budget as long as you got you can create, this body holds the purse strings. You can create a budget. It's mine, and we got that budget today. Is that correct? Or
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So legally, you can do it, and it's just up to you to justify the expenditure.
Okay. Ms. Kay.
I just would ask for some clarification. Are we amending an existing budget, or is this a whole new budget? And would it be administered through community services and education, or is it part of this new 501c3 organization that was set up last month?
No. This is to increase funding for community services and for education for these items that are listed on the item that was passed out, the handout.
Okay, so basically, it's a new budget, but it would be under these two groups?
Yes.
Okay. Also, I'm sorry, just a rough estimate on Counselor Calvin Watts, what the cost of that would be for 2 mailings a year, thanks to Mr. Enlow. That would be about $82,000 is what that would cost. That's
Worst case,
worst case, should be.
for 2 a year.
For 2 per year.
Okay. Mr. Soap?
Yeah, my question is that these have been previously established events and things that have occurred in the past, but in our original budgets that we submitted in September, October, and did all the approval, these items were not in those original budgets. So therefore, we're having to increase that by this amount.
Yes. Doug?
Yeah, that's real similar to the question I was going to go. I remember one budget that was at-large organizations. It was in the comprehensive budget, and the only question is this to subsidize the purpose of that budget, where these dollars could be added to that accounting unit, or?
Yes, it is.
It is? Okay.
Ms. Jordan?
Karen, would you, along with your friendly amendment, would you consider establishing funding so that once a year each counselor could have a meeting that would include a meal to be paid by Cherokee Nation in their district?
Actually, Mr. Baker, the motion was...
This is more interesting. I want to listen.
The motion was made by Ms. Coe
I don't
and
expect
seconded by Dr.
anything-
Cobb.
Yeah,
So they're the ones who are going to have to
Julia?
accept the amendment.
Who now? I'm lost.
I am
Julia
not
made the
adverse
motion.
to that.
Okay.
Julia made the motion, and Brad seconded. And Kara asked
just
for a
made
friendly
a friendly
amendment, which was
Okay.
accepted by both of those. So if you have an additional friendly
do I
amendment,
address it
then Julia
Okay.
and Mr. Cobb will have to.
Okay, Julia, would
Yes.
would you be agreeable to a friendly amendment that would allow sufficient funding for each district to have a yearly meeting that would involve a meal within their district that could be paid for through this, what we're doing here today?
Excuse me, Mr. Hembry has a comment on that first.
I think we're kind of mixing apples and oranges here at this point. Ms. Coates' motion is for a budget modification, okay? And there was a suggestion for a mass mailing for in-district, and you suggest a meal for district. Those are basically standalone budget modifications that can be brought up at a second time. It's really not part of a motion that could accept a friendly amendment. Hers is a standalone budget modification, and it's really not incumbent upon Ms. Coates to either accept or deny that friendly amendment. You have a right at this time or next month to bring forth your own budget modification to say that, hey, since we've done it for the out-of-district organizations, we need to have a budget modification for mailing in districts, a meal per district, etc. We could do that. I would suggest do it next month so we can get some type of estimates on the cost. But it's really nothing that a friendly amendment is really in order.
Okay. And the chair concurs with you on that.
Moved over on it. No.
Okay. Ms. Fraley, and then I have, excuse me. Well, I have Ms. Fraley first and Julia.
Excuse me for veering off just a little bit.
Okay.
But have we looked at the total perspective of the at-large membership, Jack, in regard to a plan for basic services, for instance? This is $130,000. That imply a lot of basic services, but that does open the door for other things. So I'm wondering, is there an overall plan taking into the total perspective of at large?
Okay. from my perspective, you're addressing the chair to this, we've looked at the at-large as not being, not having any of these services available to them, living outside the nation, and those only being available within the nation. So therefore, these are things that we think can be supplied to our people living outside the area, and we could give them some self-identity as Cherokees and bring them back into the Cherokee Nation as such, but we have not looked at providing any services outside. Does that answer?
Yeah, kind of. I'll think about some more.
Okay. Ms. Collins.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to share with everyone is that the intent of the picnics in particular, where it involves a hog fry, marble games, stickball games, blowgun competitions, craft demonstrations, things like that. The intent overall is to begin to teach people so that gradually, over a period of years, 3 to 5 years, we're hoping, they can begin to take on more and more and more of this themselves, and through that kind of lessen the degree of investment that the nation provides for it as they become more self-sufficient in these aspects themselves. And I just wanted to, kind of present that also for consideration, as things are coming up about, can we do these same kinds of things for the people in district? Well, I certainly don't have any objection to that. I just think that there are already a number of people in district who know how to do these things. There is already, substantial access to these kinds of cultural activities. And for the people who are out of state, this is something that they almost never get to experience, and I think something that they would, as Jack has said, is just something that means so much to them, to be able to be instructed by people from Oklahoma and to begin to learn how to do these things and produce these things for themselves. So I just make that as a comment.
Mr. Baker.
Yeah, and I'm supportive of this. I mean, no education dollars go out, no road dollars go out, no housing dollars go out, and right now about all the Cherokees out of district have is the right to vote. And so although we can't send them to college and we can't send them to trade school, that doesn't mean we can't send some culture out and embrace them with that kind of an activity. And $100,000 in the grand scheme of things is 1/4%, if that. And so I'm highly supportive of this outreach.
Mr. Hoskins.
I support it as well. I do have a question. You mentioned California, New Mexico, and Texas. Were those states that you mentioned?
Yes.
And is that because there's established organizations in those states? There are no other areas of the country, I take it, where we have pockets of organized Cherokees, so to speak, that need to be included, that outside of the...
Well, we're planning on addressing that and adding more organizations over the years. So in fact, we're having a planning meeting a week from Sunday in Oklahoma City to create one in Central Oklahoma.
And as we add those, Mr. Chairman, the funds could go to those organizations for these types of events. But this takes in the universe of organized Cherokees outside of the...
Right, it does.
Very good, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. 2 opposed. Okay. Motion carried. It is a resolution. So, yes, Mr. Baker.
It had the mailings attached to it, is that correct?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you.
And the motion was to incorporate it into this budget mod this month?
Yes.
Okay, in the source of funds general fund?
Yes.
I have a question. Who will be preparing the actual budget form?
You.
That's what I said.
I mean, we have cost estimates on a piece of paper that,
Well,
with
it's
the narrative.
community service and education, you can request them from them. Because it appears that most of the detail is on the handout. that was
Yeah, it could be
given.
transferred over to the budget form and.
Yes.
But you gotta add 80,000 to it
For the
for the mailing,
mailings inside.
or 84,000?
82, I believe. It was 82,000.
82 was the estimate. I'm glad you brought it. So you did approve the 82 in addition to yours? Okay.
Plus indirect cost, I assume.
Darn right.
So another 100.
Okay. Next item is item 3, which is our budget mod.
Mr. Chairman. Hopefully all of you had an opportunity to read my review of Mod 5. It's a pretty extensive mod package. If you're aware, there are 36 individual budgets submitted, along with several grants that are adjusting carryovers up and down. Some of the more significant grant movements for the month is the REACH program, which had a significant decrease in its carryover projection of $141,000, removing most of all of its carryover that was anticipated. But I will remind all of us that when these carryovers are originally estimated to go into the comprehensive budget, they are estimated around the May and June timeframe, long before we actually get to the end of the fiscal year. The mod itself being 36 budgets and a net decrease of $2.5 million. Predominantly, that decrease resides on the general fund of $1.7 million, primarily related to the tax commission decrease in anticipated revenues associated with tobacco tax and the surcharge. You could see in your previous report earlier today in the Rules Committee, the tax commission identified the significant decreases in the tobacco tax and the surtax for this fiscal year. We're seeing now the follow-up of those revenue decreases being exhibited on the anticipated revenue of the tax commission's budget. That's flowing up obviously into the cancer and diabetes treatment prevention as it pertains to the surtax side. There's a new initiative in the general fund in this budget. The J Clinic is in need of a new roof, and the request is a $400,000 spending authority, where the health department is requesting to contribute $100,000 out of their capital replacement budget, with the remaining $300,000 funding need out of the general fund. The indirect cost pool has several reallocations of funding. With the Housing Services Administration budget, which is a recently created indirect cost budget that was holding all the funds originally coming from the Housing Authority until Callie and the other group leaders were able to determine where those resources, those human resources, were going to be needed in the support functions of the indirect cost pool. And now they've made their determinations, have identified the actual head counts that each department will be absorbing from the Housing Authority in the memo, with financial resources and information systems and purchasing being some of the heavily weighted impact areas of those movements. The DOI Self-Governance Fund has a net zero impact, just a reallocation of $6,000 from the general assistance budget over to the child welfare budget. The IHS Self-Governance Fund is reallocating $100,000 that is coming into the Gen Fund for the contribution to the J Clinic roof. It is also offsetting that by a reduction in that same budget's supply line. The HUD fund has a $1.4 million net increase, also related to the transfer of the HUD funded housing activities. These are consistent with what this body approved in the 07 Indian Housing Plan, and the not Indian Housing Plan, the transition plan from the Housing Authority for all those housing activities into the Cherokee Nation. This is specifically only the HUD fund impact. The NAHASDA fund is where the the Indian housing plans are picking up the impact of transferring to housing activities. And you can see that a couple of items actually are related to the 06 IHP, where there's an increase in land acquisition of $912,000, partially offset by a decrease in the rehab budget of $272,000, resulting in a $640,000 net increase of the 06 funding allocation. 07 has several adjustments to it, again consistent with the Indian Housing Plan of 07 that was recently approved by Community Services and Tribal Council. There's a significant list here of everything that's increasing due to that change of Indian Housing Plan. Obviously, the increase in land acquisition sticks out of $2.3 million. Taking that budget to 2.8 out of this funding pool, with other minimal increases and a $738,000 increase to the Housing Authority Administration, taking it up to $1.5 million for costs through the month of April. The next page, last page of the memo, identifies several decreases that are happening, totaling $6 million that were funding those previous increases. Large impact, the mortgage assistance is being reduced by $1.7 million. I believe Mr. Jones reported that anticipated decrease in the last community services meeting. The operating subsidies being reduced by $1.3 million down to approximately $1.5, and the housing management being reduced 1.5 down to 1.8 level. Again, these are movements that are adjustments that are consistent and to fulfill what the change of the Indian Housing Plan was recently approved by the council, as well as the change of the service delivery between the Housing Authority and the Cherokee Nation. Small change to the Tribal Trust Fund. You see a note there. Anticipate seeing another budget modification to the Tribal Trusts as we are able to get the request for funding in and hopefully have a timely response back from the BIA this year. There was one other item I wanted to bring up to the body. The Cherokee Nation, the Tribal Council Bridge Funds does not have any carryover for this year. There was a handout in front of you of what that carryover actually is. $317,000 of 06 and 07 bridge funds is not in our budget yet this year, because when we did our comprehensive budget, we had no idea what projects were actually going to get paid by the end of the year. This is another carryover adjustment we need to put on the table so they can be obligated.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass the budget with the carryover added to it.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just
Jordan.
point of order. The funding for the at-large organizations, if I understood Todd, wherever he's at, he was trying to say it was being included in this budget mod, but that was not the motion, right, that she made. It's a standalone resolution, right?
No, it was to be added to this budget.
I think her motion was to add it to the budget mod that's on the agenda today, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because we had it as a standalone resolution, so somehow now it's in this budget mod?
I would accept it in this budget mod, and I was the second. If it's not clear, then we would accept it as a friendly amendment. It was like seeing Bill Johnson nodding his head yes.
Yes. So it is included as part of the budget mod. And when it goes to full council, we'll be voting on the budget mod and not on the in total rather than on the community services. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. By acclamation. It's an act, so by acclamation.
She said aye. She said any opposed.
Okay. Are there any announcements? So next meeting date scheduled for March 27th.
Gail brought this in.
Okay. Yes.
Darren Buzzard of Flint Code called to invite the chief, deputy chief, and council to Flint Code's 100 years of service celebration on March 4th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Springdale office. And Gail would like to know if you would be interested in attending. Let her know before you leave today. What's the date again? March 4 from 4 to 7 p.m.
Okay. Ms. Watts.
Just one more announcement. I just want to make sure that everybody, men and women, got their invitation to the 2008 Cherokee Women's Conference hosted by the Cherokee Women's Grassroots Leadership Group. And that the men may not be comfortable with the whole day, but they're still welcome the whole day. But particularly, we would like them there from 1 to 2 for the networking event so that the women can interact with all our tribal council members.
Okay.
One more now.
Okay, yes.
The council staff has been working really hard on implementing an online real-time legislative tracking system. And Mr. Doug and Shelley, they're implementing that program now, and you're in which phase? Second, you're going to the second phase. So you want to give them a brief overview of what the councilors can expect, well, the public can expect, actually.
There is a handout
Yes.
on this.
Sorry.
It's all right. Shelley, would you want to brief the council on some of the capabilities that Legistar is actually going to, in addition to what you've already gone through in orientation?
Went in more detail at orientation, but pretty much the gist will be online. Public can access the calendar, agendas, minutes, any piece of legislation. You'll be able to find out the status of any item. Everything's at your fingertips. Easy. Entire history is there. You can see it from its birth to completion.
And a real brief status update on the implementation. Did we hand this out? The project update?
No, we did not.
Didn't get that.
We didn't? Okay. I'll forward this out to everyone's email. Just in summary, phase 1, which is basically initial installation software, customization setup of the specific process flow for the tribal council, creation of the current term, standing committees, member bios, define the committee profiles, dates, members, jurisdictions, extensive testing of initial setup for accuracy and process flow. All that's 100% complete with exception of the member bios. We need a few more, and Shelley will be notifying all of you of who yet we have that we need to get more information about you to put on there to the extent that you're comfortable with. The phase 2 is really where the meat and potatoes is, and that's where we are right now. We're 100% complete with scanning 580 legislative acts, which is 1976 through 06, 1,982 resolutions, and 2,500 council/committee minutes, all in PDF format. Now, all that does is the scanning side of it is all done. Now we're OCR, and our object character recognition, we're converting those to text format to where Daystar, the vendor of the software, is going to upload and import all this text files for us probably within a couple of weeks. Once that happens, we are available full content subject matter search capability on this system live. So we're getting really close. I'll send this out to everyone so you can kind of get a more in-depth technical, if you want to, understanding of where we are. I'll be updating this tracking report weekly, or to the extent that Speaker Fraley wants it updated, and keep it going out to everyone, because there is one important step in here, and that's the end of phase 2. It's present to the Rules Committee your software and begin the press release for your public notification, because the objective here is to put all...
You can officially adjourn if you leave, I think.
No.
Is that correct? Okay.
Still no.
Is to make sure that all of you are comfortable with this, all of you are briefed on it and trained on it, and you're ready to roll it out to your constituencies. And that is targeted for the end of May.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. If there are no further announcements, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Bye, Julia.
Aye. You opposed?
Bye-bye.
Bye, Julia.
Bye, Julia.
Bye,
That was so funny.
Give me an indication.
I'm trying to figure out Julia.
Supposed to be talking up there or talking here?
I mean, it was just one of those moments where she was like, here you are talking to somebody.
You guys missed a good deal. We could have got 50,000 for each district and given good picnics. I'm all.